I never expected my career choice would tear my family apart, but looking back, it was just the trigger that exposed what had been brewing beneath the surface for years. Teaching wasn't just a job for me, it was my calling. After graduating top of my class from Stanford, I shocked everyone by turning down lucrative tech offers to teach at Lincoln Public High School. My brother James supported me initially, but everything changed when he married Victoria 3 years ago. Victoria came from old money and never let anyone forget it. She worked as a marketing executive at Reynolds Technologies, one of the biggest tech companies in Silicon Valley. From day one, she made it clear she thought I was wasting my potential. Stanford degree and you're just teaching, she'd say, wrinkling her perfectly powdered nose. Such a waste, Sarah. You could be making six figures by now. I usually brushed off her comments, focusing instead on my students who needed me. Lincoln High served a struggling community, but my AP Physics students had a 98% pass rate last year. That mattered more to me than any salary. Then came the dinner party that changed everything. James and Victoria were hosting a gathering for her work colleagues at their newly renovated mansion in Pacific Heights. I almost didn't go, but James insisted. Please, Sarah. Victoria's boss will be there. It's important to her. I should have trusted my instincts. The evening started awkwardly enough. Victoria had seated me at the far end of the table, away from the important guests. I recognized several tech executives from the news, all dressed impeccably, discussing stock options and vacation homes. Sarah, darling, Victoria's voice carried across the table, dripping with false sweetness. Do tell everyone what you do. I'm sure they'd find it interesting. I straightened in my chair. I teach AP Physics at Lincoln High School. The silence was deafening. Victoria's laugh broke it like shattering glass. Can you believe it? Stanford graduate, could have been anything, and she chose to babysit teenagers in the worst school district in the city. Several guests tittered nervously. James stared at his plate, saying nothing. Teachers are just failed professionals, Victoria continued, warming to her audience. No offense, Sarah, but those who can do. Those who can't, well, you know the rest. My hands trembled under the table, but I kept my voice steady. My students. Oh, your precious students, Victoria interrupted. Face it, Sarah. You're wasting your life playing hero to kids who'll probably drop out anyway. When was the last time you made any real difference? That's when a deep voice from the doorway cut through the room like thunder. Miss Anderson. Everyone turned. A tall man in an expensive suit stood there, his presence commanding immediate attention. I recognized him instantly. Michael Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Technologies, Victoria's boss. Mr. Reynolds, Victoria jumped up, fawning. We weren't expecting you so early. But he wasn't looking at her. His eyes were fixed on me, and to everyone's shock, they were filling with tears. Miss Anderson, he said again, his voice thick with emotion. You probably don't remember me, but my son Alex was in your class last year. The room went deadly quiet. Victoria's face turned an interesting shade of white. Alex Reynolds, I said softly, remembering the quiet boy who'd sat in the back of my class. He worked so hard. He was failing every class before he met you. Mr. Reynolds continued, walking toward me. The divorce hit him hard. Other teachers had given up on him. But you. He paused, composing himself. You stayed after school with him every day for months. You believed in him when no one else did. I felt tears prickling my own eyes. Alex was brilliant. He just needed someone to see it. He's at MIT now, Mr. Reynolds said proudly, on a full scholarship. He calls it the Miss Anderson Scholarship because he says he never would have made it without you. The silence in the room was absolute. I could hear Victoria's nervous breathing. When he told me his physics teacher's name, I couldn't believe it. Mr. Reynolds continued. I've been trying to track you down to thank you. I never expected to find you here. He turned to address the entire table. This woman isn't just a teacher. She's a miracle worker. She takes kids who've lost hope and shows them their own potential. She could have chosen an easier path, made more money, but she chose to make a difference instead. Victoria looked like she might faint. James was staring at me with a mixture of pride and shame. Miss Anderson, Mr. Reynolds said formally, I have a proposition for you, but perhaps we should discuss it somewhere more supportive. I stood up, my legs surprisingly steady. For the first time all evening, I felt truly seen. I think that's an excellent idea, Mr. Reynolds. As we walked toward the door, I heard Victoria's strangled whisper to James. "Did you know? Why didn't you tell me?" But I didn't stop to hear his response. Something told me this was just the beginning of a much bigger story. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from James and Victoria. I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on the business card Mr. Reynolds had given me the night before. 9 a.m., Reynolds Technologies headquarters. As I stepped into the gleaming office building, wearing my best blazer, which probably cost less than Victoria's lipstick, I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation from last night. After leaving the disastrous dinner party, Mr. Reynolds had taken me to a quiet cafe nearby. "Miss Anderson," he'd said, "what you did for Alex, that kind of dedication is rare. We need more of that in education." Now his assistant led me to a conference room where I found not just Mr. Reynolds, but an entire board of directors. "Sarah," Mr. Reynolds smiled warmly, "thank you for coming. We have something important to discuss." But before he could continue, the door burst open. Victoria stood there, looking perfectly polished despite her obvious agitation. "Michael, I can explain everything about last night." She stopped short seeing me there. "What is she doing here?" Mr. Reynolds' smile turned cold. "Mrs. Thompson, this is a private meeting, and you're interrupting the discussion about our new $50 million education initiative." Victoria's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "Education initiative." "Yes," Mr. Reynolds continued, "we're launching a comprehensive program to transform struggling schools across the city, and we want Sarah to lead it." I sat there stunned as he laid out the details. Reynolds Technologies was creating a foundation to provide resources, technology, and support to public schools. They wanted me to be the executive director. "The salary is $250,000 annually," he added casually, "plus full benefits and a significant budget for program implementation." Victoria made a choking sound. "But," I hesitated, "I'm just a teacher." "No," Mr. Reynolds said firmly, "you're an educator who understands what these kids really need. You're exactly who we need." Victoria's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "But she's not qualified. I've been working here for 5 years. If anyone should lead a new initiative." "Speaking of your work here," Mr. Reynolds interrupted, opening a folder, "we should discuss some irregularities in your department's expense reports." Victoria went pale. "It seems," he continued, "you've been charging personal expenses as business costs. Quite substantial amounts, actually." "I can explain," Victoria stammered. "I'm sure you can," Mr. Reynolds said coldly. To the audit team, "Please clear out your desk by end of day." Victoria turned to me, her designer mask finally cracking. "You planned this," she shrieked. "You're trying to ruin me." "Mrs. Thompson," Mr. Reynolds' voice was steel, "security will escort you out." As Victoria was led away, still shouting accusations, Mr. Reynolds turned back to me. "I apologize for that interruption. Now about the position." I held up my hand. "Before I accept, I need to know something. Did you really fire her because of me?" He shook his head. "We've been investigating her for months. Your brother's wife has been embezzling company funds to maintain her lavish lifestyle. Last night's dinner party, charged to the company, her designer wardrobe, company cards. She's been stealing for years." I thought about all the times Victoria had mocked my modest teacher's salary, all while stealing to fund her own lifestyle. "There's more," Mr. Reynolds continued. "Your brother should know that Victoria has been using company resources to fund a secret apartment where she meets her personal trainer." My heart sank for James. First the embezzlement, now infidelity. My phone buzzed again. Another message from James. "Sarah, please. Victoria says you got her fired. What's going on?" I looked at Mr. Reynolds. "I need time to think about the offer, and I need to talk to my brother." He nodded understandingly. "Of course, but Sarah, whatever you decide about the position, Victoria's actions have caught up with her. That's not on you." As I left the building, I saw Victoria being escorted out, carrying a box of her belongings. Our eyes met briefly. The hatred in hers was scalding. My phone buzzed once more. This time it was a text from Victoria. "You've ruined everything. I'll make you pay for this." I took a deep breath and called James. It was time for some hard truths, but something told me this story wasn't over yet. Victoria wasn't the type to go down without a fight. I didn't expect to find Victoria waiting at my apartment that evening, but there she was. Mascara streaked down her face, designer outfit wrinkled, looking nothing like the polished socialite who'd mocked me just yesterday. You must be so happy, she spat as I approached my door. You've destroyed everything I built. You destroyed it yourself, Victoria, I replied calmly, though my heart was racing. The embezzlement, the affair. James knows, she cut me off, laughing hysterically. Your precious brother knows everything now. Happy. But you don't know the whole story, dear sister-in-law. Something in her tone made me pause. What are you talking about? Victoria's smile was cruel. Why do you think James never defended you? All those times I insulted you, belittled your career, he agreed with every word. You're lying, I said, but uncertainty crept into my voice. Am I? She pulled out her phone. Let me play you something interesting. A recording started playing. James's voice filled the air. Of course I love Sarah, but Victoria is right. She's wasting her potential. It's embarrassing having to explain to people that my Stanford-educated sister teaches at some poor kid's school. Sometimes I wish she'd just. I couldn't listen anymore. Turn it off. He's been laughing behind your back for years, Victoria continued. We both have. The only difference is I was honest about it. My hands trembled as I unlocked my door. Leave, Victoria. Oh, I'm leaving, she said, standing up. But first, you should know, James wasn't just aware of the embezzlement. He helped me do it. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. What? Those company funds. Half of them went to his secret trading account. He's as guilty as I am. And now, thanks to you, it's all coming out. Her smile was venomous. Congratulations, Sarah. You haven't just ruined my life, you've destroyed your brother's too. She turned to leave, then paused. By the way, I've already sent copies of all his involvement to the Reynolds Technologies legal team. They should be contacting law enforcement soon. Have fun explaining to your students why their beloved teacher's brother is in prison. After she left, I sat in my dark apartment, her words echoing in my head. My phone lit up with a call from James. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call came, Mr. Reynolds. Sarah, he said when I answered, his voice grave. We've received some concerning documents about James's involvement in Victoria's scheme. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I closed my eyes. Is it true? The evidence is substantial. I'm sorry, but we'll have to pursue legal action against both of them. I thought about my students, about Alex Reynolds, about all the kids who trusted me to guide them toward a better future. Mr. Reynolds, I said finally, about your offer. Yes. I want to accept. But I need to know, will my brother's actions affect the Foundation's work? There was a pause. Sarah, your brother's choices are his own. Just like Victoria's. What matters is what you choose to do now. I looked at the family photo on my wall. James and me as kids, smiling, innocent. With a steady hand, I took it down. When do I start? The next few weeks were a blur. James and Victoria were both arrested. The story made local headlines. Tech executive and husband charged in $1 million embezzlement scheme. I threw myself into building the Education Foundation. Mr. Reynolds was true to his word. We started implementing programs in struggling schools across the city. Every time I saw a student's face light up with understanding. Every time I helped a teacher get resources they desperately needed, I knew I'd made the right choice. 6 months later, I sat in a courthouse for James's sentencing. He turned to look at me, his face gaunt. Sarah, he started. I'm so. Save it? I cut him off. You had years to be honest with me. Focus on being honest with yourself now. As I walked out of the courthouse, my phone buzzed with a message from one of my former students. Miss Anderson, guess what? I got accepted to Stanford. Just like you. I smiled, tears in my eyes. Victoria had been wrong about everything. Success isn't measured in dollars or status. It's measured in lives changed, in potential realized, in truth spoken even when it hurts. The foundation is thriving now. We've expanded to 50 schools with plans for more. Sometimes I drive past James and Victoria's old mansion. It's been sold to pay restitution. I don't feel satisfaction, just a quiet certainty that justice has a way of finding everyone eventually. Last week, I ran to Victoria's mother at a cafe. She started to turn away, but I called out to her. Mrs. Carter, I said, I'm sorry about how things turned out. She paused, then spoke softly. Victoria called from prison. She said you were right all along. About everything. I nodded and let her go. Some victories don't need to be celebrated, they just need to be acknowledged. As for me, I still teach one AP physics class. It keeps me grounded, reminds me why we're doing all this. On my desk sits a photo of my latest class, all smiling, all full of potential. Next to it is my old nameplate, Miss Anderson, physics teacher. Below it sits my new one, Sarah Anderson, Executive Director, Reynolds Education Foundation. Turns out you don't have to choose between doing good and doing well. Sometimes, if you stay true to yourself, you can do both. The key necklace Mr. Reynolds gave me at the foundation launch catches the light. Its inscription reads, "Education changes everything." I touch it and smile. Victoria and James chose greed over integrity. They thought they were building something, but it was all a house of cards. I chose to build something real, something lasting. And that has made all the difference. Turning 16 was the day my world shattered, then began to rebuild. The rain lashed against the windows of our suburban house, its relentless rhythm mirroring the storm inside. Victoria, my sister, leaned casually in the corner, her lips curling into a smirk as our parents delivered the devastating news. "Rachel," Mom began, her voice devoid of warmth, "we've decided it's time for you to leave." She said it as though announcing a minor inconvenience, not exiling her own daughter. "You're not like Victoria. You're not college material, and we can't keep wasting resources on a lost cause." Dad remained hidden behind his newspaper, as detached as ever. Meanwhile, Victoria stepped forward, the sharp click of her designer heels punctuating the silence. "Don't take it too hard, little sister," she cooed, her fox sympathy unmistakable. "Maybe you'll find work as a janitor. That seems more your speed." I stood frozen, my backpack clutched tightly, trying to comprehend their cruelty. The signs had been there all along. Forgotten birthdays, constant comparisons, and praise heaped on Victoria while my efforts went unnoticed. But this was beyond anything I had imagined. Victoria had always been their golden child, their prodigy. While she enjoyed private tutoring and elite dance classes, I scraped by, funding my own school supplies with part-time jobs. Even when I earned a B average despite the odds, the only response was, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" "You have until tonight to pack," Mom added coldly. "And don't take anything we bought. Those are family assets." I laughed bitterly. "That won't be an issue. I've bought everything I own since I was 12. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Always the victim, Rachel. This is why you'll never amount to anything." That night, packing my few belongings into a battered duffel bag, I vowed to prove them wrong. Not just wrong, I would succeed so spectacularly that their betrayal would haunt them forever. What they didn't know was that I'd spent the past year secretly learning to code. Every dollar I earned working at the cafe went toward online courses. My high school computer science teacher, Mrs. Chen, had seen my potential and quietly mentored me. While Victoria flaunted her Princeton acceptance, I was building a future they couldn't imagine. Instead of wandering the streets as my family probably hoped, I showed up on Mrs. Chen's doorstep. "Rachel," she exclaimed, pulling me into a warm hug. "Come in, you're safe here." The Chens welcomed me like family, their modest home becoming my sanctuary. Mrs. Chen nurtured my talent, while her husband James, who worked in tech recruitment, helped me secure an internship. From there, I poured every ounce of myself into learning, coding, and growing. By 18, I launched my first successful app, an educational platform for underprivileged students. Its impact caught the attention of TechFusion's CEO, Marcus Chen, no relation to Mrs. Chen, who offered me a role on their development team. By 26, I had become one of TechFusion's youngest executive vice presidents, managing billion-dollar projects. My achievements were public, but my name, legally changed to Rachel Chen, ensured my family remained unaware of my success. Meanwhile, Victoria followed the predictable path: law school, a prestigious firm, and a marriage to Bradley Thompson, a lawyer from old money. Mom and Dad filled their social media with her picture-perfect life, blissfully ignorant of mine. Then fate intervened. One routine day at work, my assistant buzzed in. "Ms. Chen, the representatives for the merger meeting are here. They're from Thompson, Williams and Associates." My heart skipped a beat. Victoria's firm. "Send them in," I said, adjusting my designer suit and settling into my office chair. The door opened and there she was, Victoria, poised and polished, followed by Bradley and their colleagues. The moment her eyes met mine, her expression faltered. Her Hermes bag slipped from her hand, hitting the floor. "Rachel?" she whispered, stunned. "How?" I smiled coolly. "Welcome to Tech Fusion. Shall we discuss the merger?" Victoria's composure crumbled as realization dawned. Her nothing of a sister sat in a corner office towering over the city, commanding a power she never dreamed I could hold. "This can't be real," she stammered. You're not supposed to be here." I leaned back, the weight of my triumph speaking louder than words. "Well, Victoria, I'm here. So shall we begin?" Bradley cleared his throat, attempting professionalism. "Ms. Chen, we weren't aware of your connection to Victoria." I let the moment linger, savoring the sweet taste of vindication. "No, I'm sure you weren't aware," I replied, my voice calm and sharp. "Just like you probably didn't realize your firm's future rests entirely on my recommendation regarding this merger." Victoria's face, already pale, turned ghostly white. The weight of my words settled on her like an avalanche. 10 years ago, she had laughed as our parents cast me out. Now the life she built on superiority and control was dangling by a thread, and I held the scissors. The meeting that followed was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Watching Victoria squirm under the weight of her crumbling facade felt like justice, but this was just the beginning. She had no idea what was coming next, and neither did our parents. Revenge, like success, is best served with careful planning and perfect timing. As Victoria and her team left my office, I saw the cracks forming in her once impenetrable confidence. Everything she thought she knew about herself, her power, her superiority, was unraveling in real time. This was just part one of a decade-long plan. The real blow was yet to come. News of the meeting spread quickly through her circles. Within days, whispers of my identity replaced the reverent mentions of her accomplishments. Rachel Chen, the tech genius, the prodigy on magazine covers, the self-made millionaire, was no longer just a name in the tech world. To Victoria, I was the sister she had dismissed and discarded. My phone buzzed relentlessly with calls and messages from her. 17 missed calls in a single day. Each one was a small victory, a stark reminder of the countless times my family had ignored me. "Ms. Chen," my assistant Sarah's voice came through the intercom. "Your sister is in the lobby again. She's insisting on seeing you." I glanced at my Rolex, a symbol of how far I'd come from that 16-year-old girl in thrifted clothes. "Let her wait," I replied smoothly. "I have more pressing matters to attend to." Those pressing matters included signing the final paperwork for Tech Fusion's acquisition of Thomson Williams and Associates. But not through the merger they desperately sought. This was a hostile takeover, a decisive end to their firm as they knew it. An hour later, Victoria burst into my office. Her once flawless appearance was in shambles. Her suit wrinkled, her mascara streaked from tears. "Rachel, please," she began, her voice trembling. "You have to talk to me. The merger, our firm depends on it." I leaned back in my chair, letting the moment stretch. "Interesting. Now you need something from me. Quite the change from 10 years ago, isn't it?" "I was young," she protested weakly, desperation etched into her features. "We all were." I didn't understand. "Didn't understand what?" I interrupted, my tone icy. "That treating your own sister like garbage might come back to haunt you. That the person you threw away might actually amount to something." She sank into the chair opposite me, the weight of her guilt pulling her down. "What do you want, Rachel? An apology? Money? Just tell me." I laughed, a sound as bitter as it was triumphant. "Money? Victoria, I make more in a month than you do in a year. And as for an apology," I rose from my chair and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "It's far too late for that." "Mom and Dad want to see you," she whispered. "They're devastated they didn't know about your success." "Devastated they missed out on the money, you mean?" I replied, not bothering to mask my disdain. "Tell me, did they ever look for me after throwing me out? Did any of you?" Her silence was answer enough. "Mrs. Chen looked for me," I continued, my voice steady with resolve. "She and her husband gave me a home, believed in me, and supported my dreams. They're my real family." Victoria's eyes widened in realization. He changed your name to Chen." "I did," I said simply. "The moment I turned 18. I wanted nothing to do with a name that brought me nothing but pain." Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Chen, TechFusion's CEO. Acquisition approved by the board. Proceed as planned. I turned back to Victoria, my expression unreadable. You'll be getting some interesting news about your firm soon. I suggest you update your resume. Her panic was palpable. What do you mean? I savored the moment before delivering the blow. TechFusion isn't merging with Thomson, Williams and Associates, I said, each word deliberate. We're buying it. And our first order of business is restructuring the management team. The blood drained from her face as the implications sank in. You can't do this. Bradley's family, their connections. I laughed outright this time. Bradley's country club connections. Victoria, I have dinner with senators and tech billionaires. His world is nothing compared to mine. As if on cue, her phone buzzed. Bradley's name lit up the screen. The news was spreading like wildfire. This isn't just about me, she pleaded, her voice cracking. Think about the employees, their families. Don't lecture me about caring for others, I said sharply. Unlike our parents, I don't punish innocent people for someone else's mistakes. The employees will be taken care of, but the senior partners who perpetuated that toxic culture, they're out. She stood shakily, her entire world collapsing around her. Mom and Dad will be at my house tonight, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They want to make things right. I paused, considering her words. Seeing them grovel might be amusing, but I had a better idea. Tell them to come to the Capitol tomorrow night at 8. I'll reserve a private room. After she left, I called Mrs. Chen. They took the bait, I said, satisfaction evident in my tone. Are you sure about this, Rachel? She asked gently. Revenge can feel hollow in the end. This isn't just revenge, I assured her. This is justice. And tomorrow, they'll finally understand what that means. The next evening, I sat in the Capitol's most exclusive dining room, the pinnacle of luxury. When my family arrived, their expressions were a mix of awe and discomfort. The daughter they discarded now commanded a world they could only dream of entering. Rachel, Mom began, stepping forward as if to hug me. I didn't move. Please, I said coldly, gesturing to the table. Sit. Dad cleared his throat, clearly out of his depth. We've been doing a lot of thinking, Princess. Don't, I interrupted. You lost the right to call me that the day you threw me out. Mom's eyes filled with tears, perfectly timed as always. We made a mistake, she sobbed. We were so wrong about you. The waiter approached, presenting a bottle of wine worth more than their monthly mortgage payment. I gestured for it to be poured, the sound of the cork popping slicing through the tense air. Yes, you were wrong, I said, my tone calm but unyielding. But that's not why I agreed to this dinner. Victoria shifted in her seat, her confidence unraveling. Rachel, about the firm. The acquisition is final, I replied sharply. And again, that's not why we're here. From my briefcase, I withdrew 3 folders and slid one to each of them. Open them. The silence thickened as they complied. Inside each folder were meticulously documented records, a timeline of their cruelty, from forgotten birthdays to scathing remarks, juxtaposed with financial statements, property deeds, and investment portfolios, all of it theirs. How did you get this? Dad's voice faltered as his eyes darted over the damning contents. While you were busy boasting about Victoria's mediocre achievements, I began, leaning back in my chair. I was busy acquiring every debt you owed. Your mortgage, car loans, Victoria's student loans, even Dad's failing business liabilities. I own it all. Every penny you owe is now mine. The shock was palpable. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched the folder, her perfectly manicured nails denting the expensive paper. Now, I said, taking a measured sip of the wine, we're going to discuss terms. The private dining room fell into an uneasy silence. For once, they were at a loss for words. Dad, the man who once dismissed me with a sneer, finally spoke, his voice barely audible. What do you want? What I want, I said, leaning forward, is for you to understand what you threw away 10 years ago. Not just a daughter, but someone who could have been your greatest ally. Mom dabbed at her tears, her designer mascara smudging in streaks. We can be a family again, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please, Rachel, we'll do anything. Anything. I raised an eyebrow, pulling out another set of papers. Then sign this. Victoria, ever the lawyer, grabbed the document first. Her face paled as she read it. This is everything. The house, Dad's business, my trust fund. Precisely, I said coolly. Sign it all over to me and I'll erase your debts. Refuse and tomorrow, I'll foreclose on everything. You can't do this, Dad protested, his voice tinged with desperation. We'll be ruined. Ruined, I echoed, a cold laugh escaping my lips. Let me tell you about ruined. Ruined is being 16 and sleeping in a park because your family threw you out. Ruined is working 3 jobs just to afford a meal. Ruined is watching the sister who mocked you post about her perfect life while you fight to survive. Victoria's anger flared. You're better than this, Rachel. You've already won. You're wealthy, powerful. Why stoop to our level? This isn't about stooping, I said, my voice steady. This is about justice. Consequences. From my phone, I played a recording. Their voices from a decade ago filled the room, cutting through their veneer of remorse. Sneers, dismissive laughter, cruel words predicting my failure. Mom covered her mouth as if to block out the sound of her own venom. I kept this, I said quietly, pausing the recording. Every time I felt like giving up, it reminded me what I was working for. Not just success. This moment. Dad's hands trembled as he picked up the pen and signed the papers. Mom followed, her tears falling freely. Victoria hesitated, her pride warring with her fear, but eventually she signed as well. It's done, I said, collecting the documents. The apartment keys are with the maitre d'. You have until tomorrow to move your essentials. Everything else will be sold. As they stood to leave, I delivered my final blow. 10 years ago, you told me I'd never amount to anything. You were wrong. I became everything you said I couldn't, not because of you, but in spite of you. Victoria paused at the door, her voice fragile. Will we ever see you again? I considered her question. That depends on whether you learn from this. After they left, Mrs. Chen entered the room, her warm smile a balm to my hardened exterior. She hugged me tightly. Are you okay, sweetheart? For the first time in 10 years, I said, my voice lighter. I think I am. The next morning, I watched movers dismantle my old family home. Piece by piece, Victoria's perfect life unraveled. Dad's business was already undergoing restructuring, and Mom's social circle buzzed with the scandal of their fall from grace. But revenge wasn't my ultimate goal. I had something bigger in mind. The following week, I announced the creation of the Chen Foundation for Youth Empowerment. Its mission, to support abandoned and struggling teens, giving them the tools to rewrite their own stories. When I unveiled the foundation headquarters to Mrs. Chen, she cried. This, she said, her voice thick with pride, is your real victory, turning pain into purpose. She was right. The legacy I was building wasn't born from vengeance, but from hope. Each teenager who walked through the foundation's doors would find the support I once needed and received from the Chens. Months later, a letter arrived from Victoria. She wrote about her new life, working as a paralegal, living in a modest apartment, and finally understanding the value of humility. I didn't respond. Instead, I anonymously donated to the legal aid clinic where she worked, ensuring they could continue helping others. Success, I realized, wasn't just about proving my family wrong. It was about proving to myself that resilience could triumph over cruelty. My biological family may have abandoned me, but their rejection had forged me into someone unstoppable, someone who not only survived but thrived and used that success to lift others. In the end, I had gained something far more valuable than revenge. I had found freedom, purpose, and an unshakable peace. The girl they threw away had become the woman they could never be, happy, fulfilled, and whole.